This part of the story starts with Tally-Ho anchored in Drake's Bay, just north of San Francisco. With 4 of us on board, we'd just completed an 800-mile trip from British Columbia, and we dropped anchor here to get a full night's sleep before heading in to San Francisco Bay. Well, we are near the end of this passage, our sort of first big long offshore passage with Tally-Ho. It's been just over 800 miles and really cool to see a new part of the country, a new part of the world. To see Tally-Ho in a different environment is quite strange, and just really exciting to be beginning this bigger, longer trip. It's kind of halfway around the world, and this first stage went really well. So going to be very shortly going under the Golden Gate Bridge and then finding a spot to park up in San Francisco. Thank you.
Well, we did all right. Made it under the bridge with everything up, cruising.
Hey, we're not there yet, Bob.
We're under.
We're not tied up.
We're under the bridge, that's all I said.
Our best of those guys.
Got it.
Just putting the mainsail cover on. We arrived. We're in Sausalito. There's palm trees.
We moored up at Spaulding Marine Center, where we'd been invited to stay a while and use their workshop. Spaulding Marine Center is both a non-profit and a working boatyard, and so as well as servicing local, traditional and modern boats, they also maintain their own historic fleet, have public workshops and events, and preserve the work of their founder, Myron Spaulding. One of the interesting things there is their yard crane, a stiff-leg derrick built in the 1930s and originally used to construct a dam on the Missouri River. Installed here in 1961 and capable of lifting 14 tons, it's regularly maintained and inspected and is still used today. Our purpose for being here was to work on Tallyho's mast. We've been experiencing some pretty severe chafe in certain conditions where the leather of the gaff saddle has been rubbing against the soft spruce timber of the mast and damaging it, no matter how often we lubricate it. This is actually a relatively common problem with gaff rig boats, and it's to do with the geometry of the rigging and the sail. There are a lot of ways of trying to improve that geometry, and we've tried quite a few, but right now, to avoid any more serious damage, I want to protect the mast itself. This is often done with a sheet of copper or hardwood strips, but every method is a bit of a compromise. In this situation, we decided to install brass strips fastened into G10 plugs that will help prevent water intrusion. This will be relatively easy to install aloft and won't cover up large areas of the mast, which can make it hard to inspect and maintain. So Will and I are at the Spaulding Marine Center machine shop, and we've been kindly allowed to use the tools here. So I've got the brass strips, the half oval, which was delivered yesterday, and so we're going to machine these to length, machine the ends, and cut and countersink for the fasteners, which will fasten these to the mast. Okay, second time lucky. Only 18 more to do. Spending time at Spaulding Marine Center had been a real gift. It's a wonderful organisation that really does a lot to train young people and promote traditional maritime skills. I encourage everyone to learn more about their mission and support them, but for now, for us, it was time to move to the other side of the bay. So having Tally-Ho over at Spaulding Boatworks was great, but there wasn't very much water there. It was a drying berth, so when the tide went out, Tally-Ho was sitting in the mud, which is fine, but the tides were changing and we decided to move. So now we're over at Richmond Yacht Club, where we're being very kindly hosted on the east side of the bay, and we're getting ready to fasten the brass strips to the mast in the positions where the gaff saddle has been damaging it. Now, we don't want to just drill and screw into the wood of the mast, because over a long period of time that is a classic place for water to get in under the varnish and into the wood and cause rot. So we're taking a different approach. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but it should protect the mast for a really long time. And it's basically we're going to insert short sections of fiberglass rod into the mast in the places where we want to fasten, and those fiberglass rod sections will be glued in, and then we'll drill them and tap them, and then we'll be able to use a machine screw to fasten the brass strips around the mast. Now unfortunately I did not get a chance to film this, but Bob has already been up the mast, has drilled and glued in all those fiberglass rod pieces, and so the next step now is to drill and tap them, and we're going to use the same template for that as we were using for drilling and countersinking the brass pieces, so it should all fit nicely, and we'll be able to then just use machine screws to fasten them in place.
We're drilling a ton of holes in the mast, so we want them in the right spot. So we have a mast template with the hole size of our drill bit that we're going to tap the holes, put our fasteners into. I hold that up, pre-drill everything, tap it, and then it fits. Of course, they're all in a box that dumped out in the bag. I only dropped one.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Okay, the real question. Did we get all 5? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, unfortunately not. What happened there? I don't know. Maybe the template slipped. Maybe this one didn't get drilled totally the same. There's so many variables. Because I'm hanging by a string and it's blowing like 40 today. I don't know if you looked out there. Rigger's back.
Oh, cool. Alright, I'll come down.
Cool.
As you can see, we just installed the chafe protection at the top 2 positions of the gaff saddle, full hoist and first reef. We'd found that at the lower gaff positions, the second and third reef, some difference in the geometry meant that as long as we kept things lubricated, there wasn't any chafing. Our time in the Bay Area had been very busy. Work on the mast had taken longer than expected, and we'd had various other commitments to see to. Bob had returned to Port Townsend for his next job, and before we knew it, it was time for us to leave the bay and continue south, even though we felt there was so much we hadn't yet seen. Richmond Yacht Club, and in fact everyone we'd met in the area, had been so welcoming, kind and supportive. We wished we could stay longer, but it was time to go. As we headed south with a crew of 3 now, we were really happy to know that the mast would at least be protected. The adventure continues into Southern California, but for now, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference, and it means we're able to keep on sailing, maintaining the boat, and making the videos. So I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.